Law and Crime, a Deadly Obsession. Introduction. In the quiet town of Ridgewood, Ohio, 22-year-old Emily Carter and 24-year-old Jake Holloway seemed like the perfect couple. They had met during Emily's sophomore year of college at a campus coffee Chopin instant, fiery connection. To outsiders, they were the embodiment of young, love-inseparable, affectionate, and deeply devoted to each other. Emily was a bright, ambitious law student with dreams of becoming a prosecutor. She excelled in her classes, worked part-time at a law firm, and had a clear vision of her future. Jake, on the other hand, was a former high school football star, now training to become a police officer. He had charm, good looks, and a promising career ahead of him. But behind the staged Instagram photos and the laughter at dinner parties, their love was unraveling. Jake was possessive, jealous, and controlling. What started as small, affectionate gesture checking on her when she was out late, asking her not to wear revealing clothes soon, turned into a suffocating grip. He monitored her phone, questioned her about her male classmates, and grew increasingly paranoid. Whenever she brought up concerns about his temper, he apologized, swore it would never happen again, and showered her with gifts of pattern that kept repeating itself. Emily's friends noticed the change. The once vibrant, outspoken young woman had started withdrawing from social events and making excuses for Jake's behavior. Her best friend, Samantha, urged her to leave him, but Emily brushed off her concerns. "He loves me," she would say. "He just gets a little jealous sometimes. It's nothing serious." But it was serious. Jake's mood swings became more violent. He would punch walls, throw objects, and once even grabbed Emily's wrist so tightly it left bruises. Still, she stayed trapped in the cycle of fear and hope, love, and manipulation. Then, one day, Emily made a choice that would change everything. She met someone else, a man who made her feel safe, who treated her with kindness and respect. And for the first time in a long time, Emily imagined a future without Jake. But Jake wasn't about to let her go. By the time authorities got involved, one of them would be dead, and the other would be facing a murder trial that would shake the town to its core. A love turned toxic. Emily and Jake met in college and quickly became the couple everyone envied. He was the charming, confident athlete with a promising future in law enforcement, and she was the brilliant, ambitious law student with dreams of becoming a prosecutor. Together, they looked like a power couplet-driven individuals destined for success. From the outside, their relationship appeared picture perfect. Social media was filled with snapshots of their lives' romantic dinner dates, road trips, and heartfelt captions about love and devotion. Friends admired them, often calling them the golden couple of Ridgewood. But behind those curated moments, their love was suffocating. Jake was possessive and obsessive. At first, his protectiveness felt like love checking in on her late at night, wanting to know where she was, but soon it escalated. He insisted on knowing her schedule down to the minute. He would accidentally show up outside her classes and part-time job. If she didn't respond to his texts immediately, he would flood her phone with messages and missed calls. Emily felt trapped. Whenever she voiced her discomfort, Jake would become apologetic, showering her with gifts and promises that he would change. But the cycle always repeated itself. Then came the mood swings and anger outbursts. If another man so much as smiled at Emily, Jake would accuse her of flirting. If she mentioned wanting a night out with friends, he would guilt trip her into staying home. If they argued, he would punch walls, throw objects, or grab her a little too hard always, claiming he didn't mean it. Emily started living in fear. She stopped texting male classmates to avoid confrontation. She declined girls' nights out because she didn't want to deal with his sulking. Her world became smaller and smaller, revolving solely around keeping Jake happy and avoiding his rage. But Emily had her own secrets. She had met someone else. His name was Nick Reynolds, a 25-year-old paramedic she had met during a legal seminar on forensic investigations. Unlike Jake, Nick was gentle, respectful, and kind. He listened to her. He made her laugh. And for the first time in a long time, Emily felt like herself again. She had already made up her mind. She was going to end things with Jake. But Jake wasn't going to let her go so easily. And the night she finally told him the truth would be the last night of her life. The night of the crime. The night of the 14th of March, 2023 was supposed to be Emily Carter's new beginning or chance to break free from Jake Holloway's control and reclaim her life. She had packed her bags, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and relief. The toxic relationship that had consumed her for nearly 3 years was finally coming to an end. Jake had sensed something was off all day. Emily had been distant, her usual nervous smiles replaced with a quiet determination. When he arrived at her apartment that evening, he immediately noticed the packed suitcases near the door. His stomach dropped. "Where are you going?" he asked, his voice dangerously calm. "I'm leaving, Jake. It's over." The words hung in the air like a loaded gun. Jake's expression darkened, his hands clenching into fists. He stepped forward, blocking the door. "You're not leaving me. We can fix this, Emily. I love you." Emily took a deep breath, her body tense, ready for the reaction she had been dreading. "I don't love you anymore, Jake. I've already made up my mind." And then it happened. Jake snapped, his face contorted with rage and betrayal, and before Emily could react, he grabbed her arm, his grip like a vice. "You think you can just walk away from me? After everything I've done for you," he spat. Emily tried to pull away, her heart pounding. "Let me go, Jake," she screamed. Neighbors would later say they heard a struggle, a loud crash, and then a chilling silence. At 11:42 p.m., a loud thud echoed through the walls of Emily's apartment. A few minutes later, Jake dialed 911, his voice shaking, breathless. It was an accident. She hit her head. Please send help. When officers arrived, the scene was chaotic. Emily lay unconscious on the hardwood floor, a pool of blood spreading beneath her head. A lamp had been knocked over, its light flickering eerily. Jake sat beside her, his hands covered in blood, his face ghostly pale. "She just fell," he stammered to the officers. "I tried to stop her from leaving, and she slipped, I swear." But something didn't add up. The position of Emily's body. The deep bruise marks on her arms, the fear frozen on her face. Emily was rushed to Ridgewood Medical Center, but the damage was irreversible. The impact to her skull had caused severe brain trauma, and she had lost too much blood. At 12:09 a.m., Emily Carter was pronounced dead. The young woman with so many dreams, so much potential, was gone. And in that moment, Jake's fate was sealed. The case of People versus Jake Holloway was about to begin. The investigation. Jake Holloway sat in the cold, dimly lit interrogation room at the Ridgewood Police Department, his hands trembling as he repeated his story to detectives. "It was an accident," he insisted. "Emily was leaving, we were arguing, and she tripped. She hit her head on the coffee table. I tried to save her." But detectives Mark Lawson and Olivia Reyes had handled too many domestic violence cases to believe in coincidences. They had already seen the crime scene, studied Emily's injuries, and interviewed witnesses. Jake's version of events wasn't adding up. The evidence painted a much darker picture. The forensic findings. When the coroner's report came back, it shattered Jake's story completely. Emily had suffered multiple blunt force trauma injuries to her head, face, and ribs. The wound on the back of her head wasn't consistent with a simple fallet, was caused by a direct impact, likely from being shoved or thrown. Bruises around her wrists and neck indicated that she had been restrained or choked before she hit the ground. The medical examiner ruled Emily's death a homicide, the digital trail of fear. Emily had seen this coming. Detectives obtained her phone records and uncovered a chilling pattern. 2 days before her death, Emily had texted her best friend, Samantha. "Oh, I think Jake knows I'm leaving. He's acting really weird. I'm scared. Oh, if anything happens to me, just know I tried to get out." An email draft was found on her laptop, never sent, addressed to her professor. "Oh, I need to take some time off. Things at home aren't safe." Emily had been planning her escape, and Jake knew it. The security footage that sealed his fate. Investigators reviewed security camera footage from the apartment complex parking lot, which captured Jake's movements before and after the incident. At 11:25 p.m., Jake arrived at Emily's apartment. He wasn't carrying flowers or an apology. He was angry. At 11:37 p.m., the footage showed him pacing outside the apartment, running his hands through his hair, clenching his fists. At 11:42 p.m., the moment when neighbors heard Emily scream and the loud thud, Jake was inside the apartment. 911 wasn't called until 11:58 p.m. 16 minutes. Jake had waited 16 whole minutes before calling for help. What was he doing in those critical moments? Cleaning? Panicking? Trying to come up with a believable story? Whatever it was too late. The arrest. Armed with the forensic report, digital evidence, and security footage, detectives Lawson and Reyes returned to the interrogation room. Jake's cocky demeanor had faded. He looked nervous, exhausted, and pale. "We have enough to charge you with murder, Jake," Lawson said, sliding the coroner's report across the table. "You want to tell us the truth now?" Jake opened his mouth, but no words came out. His silence was deafening. At 3:27 a.m. on the 15th of March, 2023, Jake Holloway was officially arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Emily had fought for her freedom, but in the end, Jake had made sure she would never leave. Now it was time for justice. The case went to trial in August 2023. Prosecutors argued that Jake had lost control in a fit of rage and pushed Emily, causing her fatal head injury. The defense, however, painted Jake as a heartbroken man who never meant to harm Emily. His attorney claimed that the evidence was circumstantial and that there was no proof Jake intended to kill her. But the most shocking moment of the trial came when Emily's secret other boyfriend, Nick Reynolds, was called to the stand. Nick revealed that Emily had confided in him about Jake's violent tendencies and feared he might hurt her. "She told me she was scared, that he would never let her go." This testimony shattered the defense's case. The verdict: after 3 days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Jake Holloway was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years in prison. His future in law enforcement was gone, his life destroyed by a single act of rage. Aftermath. Emily's tragic death became a warning about toxic relationships and domestic violence. Her family started a foundation in her name to help young women recognize the signs of abusive relationships before it's too late. Meanwhile, Jake sat alone in a prison cell replaying that night in his head, wondering if things could have gone differently if only he had let her go. But the law had spoken. Crime never goes unpunished.